go-forward basis, we're looking to have our guests come into New York City. Our times are revolutionary, and I'm not talking in a fighting revolutionary and all the wars going on around the world. It's a social revolution. We're moving into a more progressive way. I'm 59. Stevenson is a generation younger than me, coming up with his 3-year-old daughter. And so his future is about fairness and how he uses coffee and healing. And candidly, the man's business and with his wife and his family, and they're very private, you walk in there, you feel the energy. So we at the Happy Spot approached him and said, we would love to underwrite your show and help begin your marketing. You're a private individual, and we are blessed and fortunate to hear how Stevenson has taken over a family business. It's a generational business. There's cultural relations, but what we're talking about is really healing society. And if we do healing one person at a time, then that's what it takes. So we're blessed with the grace. Stevenson, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
So if you could share with us um, a little bit about your business, and then we'll talk about the summertime. So, this is your time. We're here to see how you can shine in the world and help heal others.
Thank you. I lead Fairmountain Coffee Roasters right now. It's an organic coffee roaster. We focus on, primarily pretty much 100% organic, USDA organic certified practice. We get coffees from around 40 different farms around the globe, every single one of them organic certified. We focus on small lots, micro lots of coffees, roasted in small batches every day, to try to deliver to a cup of coffee to the customer that is the best representation that the farmer can provide. Often people think that we make good coffee, but I think we are merely just custodians of the great quality that the farmers send us. We can for sure ruin a good cup of coffee, but we cannot make it. We put a lot of great care to try to deliver the hard work and the manual labor that coffee farmers endure every single day, and honoring their craft with putting our own passion behind it to make sure that their hard work is not wasted is what translates into that amazing cup of coffee that each one of our customers get to enjoy, let it be at our store or in their own homes when they order online from our website.
So that's awesome, and thank you. And so you have two stores in New Jersey, one in Atlantic Highlands and one in
Correct.
Gladstone,
Correct.
and they're very different but similar, right? There, right? One is in a very suburban community, one's a very beach town, but they're private, closed communities.
Yes.
And you're creating an ambiance. When I go into your store in the Atlantic Highlands, I feel like it's a scene out of a movie. And how it's designed. And we've talked before about your alternative approach, but it feels like a coffee factory. And so
Yes.
if you could elaborate on how you're building it, and I always love to hear when you're telling me other people are telling you how to do it differently, and you just smile at them and you're still going to do it your vision way.
Yeah, so it's, I think in the United States, we're used to having a concept that does absolutely everything. If you see a wine bar, you expect to still get a Caesar salad. You still expect to get an avocado toast from there. We are a coffee roaster. We want to focus 100% of our energy into giving each customer the very best cup of coffee they've had. I don't think we are there yet. We are definitely working and put a lot of passion in every cup that we're working with, in hopes that one day we can get to that amazing, perfect cup of coffee. We passionately work on that goal every single day. A lot of the aesthetics design that you see in Atlantic Highlands was the vision of Greg. He hand designed, Greg and Barbara designed that place the way you see it. And
I'm going to pause and interject here for a moment. So that's another part of this story
yeah,
is the ambiance that Greg and Barbara. So this is a generational business.
correct.
So that oral wisdom is what we focus on. How great and important it is to still have them in the background because they want to see your success, and how important it is for your business and your family in this moment of time as they orally still guide.
Uh, to me, it's not a business, it's a responsibility. They had an amazing business concept. I was a customer who passionately loved everything that they did. And when they gave me the opportunity to take over what they did, it was what they've created. I didn't see it as a business opportunity. I saw it as a responsibility because they started this brand from the ground up. They started going at farmers markets, and if for anybody that has worked farmers markets, they know how much work that is. They built the brand from nothing to what we acquired in April of 2022. So I always tell them, when they come and they give me compliments on little changes that we're making, and I always tell them, like, everything that I've built has been built on the foundation that you laid out. And if I am lucky enough to put half of the effort that they put to build this from nothing, I should be able to accomplish any of my goals. Because, for anybody that has built something from scratch, they understand the amount of work that entails. So the moment I was taking over their operations, I already had a structure. It already had a very solid foundation, a solid reputation. They were already organic certified. They already had an amazing history with local vendors.
So I am curious, the word organic.
Mhm.
Now I go into my local supermarket and there's organic milk for $6, and then I buy whole milk and it's for $3.19. And so certain things I go and I must buy organic,
Yeah.
but in organic, so the layperson could understand. And how do you justify organic versus in the supermarket, and it may just be stamped organic, but it's not really organic? How as a consumer, do we identify the difference, or we just have to trust our roasters?
Luckily, I think the USDA has been trying to make a lot of improvements on that. So now, if you look at a coffee bag that has the USDA logo on it, I mean, I'm sure someone is probably trying to cheat the system somewhere, but 9 times out of 10, that'll be a legitimate certification.
Got it.
We go through yearly inspections. We get physically, not just a questionnaire online. We get an actual auditor that comes and audits our whole operation to make sure it's organic. What that means is at the farm level, because the whole supply chain needs to be organic certified. At the farm level, the soil gets tested to make sure that no pesticides, no inorganic fertilizers are being used. It's a fully organic practice where just you use natural resources. You allow Mother Nature to care for this coffee. In a traditional coffee farm, you will have fruit trees to encourage birds to visit the farm. You will have other smaller crops that promote healthy soil, so that we don't have to rely on pesticides. So we create a whole ecosystem so that the coffee is cared for in a natural way. Now, when the coffee is being processed, also not exposed to chemicals, the transportation companies nowadays that bring those coffees, they also have to be organic certified. The importers, the person who's just literally closing the deal, that is behind a desk and probably don't even touch the coffee, they need to be organic certified nowadays, because they also need to be understanding that if they're filling up a container of organic coffee, they cannot put it in a closed container with inorganic coffee. So then once that coffee lands here and gets to the roaster, then we have to explain to the USDA, how are we transporting this coffee? Which transportation company are we using? Are we using our own vehicles? Is the vehicle being used for other chemicals? They're looking for traceability. Now, when we roast the coffee and we send a coffee to a customer, that coffee will come with a roast date on it. And to us, the way this is an internal operation, each coffee roaster will have their own control system. But for us, that roast date and origin is the way we trace that coffee. So if there is ever an issue with that coffee, we can use that roast date to know when the coffee was roasted, from which bag it came from, when that bag came into the shop, when it came into the country, from which farm, from which harvest. So we can trace the story of that coffee all the way to the hands of the farmer. And not only is, it has never been in contact with chemicals, with harsh chemicals, it's also the traceability. We need to account for every single step of that coffee to make sure it wasn't contaminated, that we didn't lose track of it and all of a sudden reappeared.
This is great information because, okay.
Yeah, there is one last step that they also do, and they randomly would pick a particular origin, let's say Honduras, and we have to show how many pounds of Honduras we bought this particular year for the whole calendar year. And then they check our books, how many pounds of Honduras you sold. And those numbers need to make sense. We lose about 20% of the coffee that we buy. So for every 10 pounds that we put in the roaster, we get around 8 back. And they're looking for that percent loss. So if we bought, 10,000 pounds of coffee, then you should be able to only sell 8,000 pounds of coffee. And they want to make sure that, roasters are not lying, buying one bag of organic coffee and then 9 of inorganic that is cheaper and then cheating our customers.
Got it.
Yeah.
So interesting. And you touch upon Honduras. Now, when we were talking, I think you're bringing in from 5 countries.
No, we have coffee from around 30 different countries.
Wow.
Yeah, so we get coffees from Central, South, and Latin America,
Okay.
Africa, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia. At any given point, depending on where in the seasons you catch us, we will have around 20 something different origins in stock. But that's because, for example, right now, all of the coffees from Central, South America, and Latin America are either already arrived or arriving. But coffees from Indonesia, Southeast Asia are running low in stock. Those usually arrive September, October. That's when those arrive. And those are smaller lots. Those islands are a little smaller. The fresh harvest from Africa traditionally lands sometime in July. So that's the next thing that we will start to get excited. We're gonna get, the Ethiopias, the Ugandas, this is when they start to show up. So just like, it's tomato season or strawberry season, coffee has its own seasonality, and we try to adhere by that, showcasing our selection based on what's freshest from the farm.
Well, that is great. So I'm just looking here now. We're about to move into break in a moment. And so when we come back from our break, what I want to hear about is what summertime looks like for you. We started our conversation before, and so I know we're both excited as today is July 1 and we're moving into our season. As we move into our break right now, we're going to just have our sound waves kind of give us a moment to settle. We'll be right back. Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot. And we have Stevenson. We're talking about Fair Mountain
Coffee
Roasters in Atlantic Highlands and Gladstone. So the summertime for me starts sometime in May, maybe even April. And so I live about 45 minutes from the Jersey Shore and Sandy Hook, and I think it is one of the best kept secrets in New Jersey. And I could head down there early in the morning, and I get there right around sunrise. And for about 2 hours or so, I'll do my workout instead of going to a gym, or I'm a hot yogi guy. I get the air. The air is really healing down there. And so on my way up, coming back up, I live up in North Jersey. I have the blessing of stopping by Atlantic Highlands and getting coffee at Stevenson. And you walk into the place, and it's a vibe. And so I'm a guy, I spend most of my professional career in New York City. And when you're walking down the street, you're in New York, everyone has a vibe, a feel. And when you walked into Stevenson's place, you could feel it's such a comfortable vibe. And it's like summertime year round, I feel like in his place. And that's what I want to hear about. You started bringing up summer. What's your summer looking like?
So I think this is a mindset that I adopted last summer. Someone just asked me, what are my plans for the summer? And my response to them, I didn't think much about it. My response to them was, I stopped making plans. I just make the best of whatever life puts in front of me. If it's a challenge, we're going to learn from it. We're going to, get creative and get past this. If it's a happy moment, it's a blessing. We don't need to plan for that. We just enjoy it. And that's what I've been doing. And it has eased up a little bit on the stress of day to day. Because often we start forecasting, it's kind of like going home, we check the traffic. There is only one way we can get home, but we still check the traffic. Why? We're going to start worrying about the traffic a little earlier. So since I only have one way to get home, checking the traffic is pointless. That's the only way I'm going to get home. And that kind of like mindset is what has traduced back into my summer planning. I'm just making the best of whatever life has to offer for me. And sometimes it's a challenging day, and we make the best of it. We deal with it head first.
Thank you for that. And so during your day, how many coffees are you serving in a day, and how many pounds are you roasting in a day?
Coffee cups, we are going through around maybe 100, 150 a day. Coffee pounds, it really changes. It can oscillate anywhere in between 200 pounds in a day to around 400, 450 pounds in a day.
So your business, it seems more wholesale then? Because that's a lot of coffee in a day.
Yeah, but not necessarily. The business is right now, I would say it's close to like a 50-50.
Okay.
Because a lot of those coffee pounds that we're roasting are picked up by customers who came to get a cup of coffee. So our average ticket is actually very high because people come in for a cup of coffee, but they grab a pound or two of coffee.
Got it.
Our customers are very acquainted to that practice, so they get excited. Our menu changes in new origin.
So before we go to the menu, you shared something with me in our first conversation we had. And as you were changing the business, you're appreciative of the family starting it, but there was a dynamic you wanted to change. And so if you could share that, how you changed your business, because that's the mental wellness that you're so dedicated and how you go about it. And that's what we look for in the happy spot of how do we learn from you, right? So then we can all grow to be healthier, wiser entrepreneurs like yourself.
Yeah. So Greg and Barbara had, in my opinion, the best coffee I've ever tasted. The way we came to this was I was going to open a coffee shop and wanted them to be my supplier, and they presented me with the opportunity of taking over their business instead. After I ran for the hills, intimidated by the idea, and I came back, we arrived to an agreement. One of the first things I changed was adding an actual espresso bar, because they have such an amazing coffee and they had a nationwide following. There were people, I know there is a couple that visits us from Montana, and they would visit from Montana and ask for a cup of coffee. And I felt bad that we didn't have a cup of coffee to offer them. So that was the very first thing, the very first addition I made to the business. I opened a classic espresso bar. This came with some risk. I added espresso bar and I thought very carefully about it. And I wanted to make sure I was drinking something that I felt proud of. It's something that was a cup of coffee that I would drink myself. So because of that, we tried around 30 different milks. We arrived to one that it's an amazing milk. Then we looked at the menu and what kind of menu would I feel proud to share. And in the menu, we feature no syrups, no sweeteners. We have sugars on the bar, but the sugars are for the customer to do self-serving. We have a dietary sugar.
That's such a big thing. When you share that with me, from just a health perspective, that you're not adding the sugar in, so it provides the flavor of the coffee and a healthiness.
Yeah, the idea behind it is, there is sugar out there. We have sugar in the raw, And we also have, I think it's Splenda that we have for people that need a supplement, an alternative sugar for their health reasons. But customers take control over that. They can add as much sugar as they want, but we will not do it. For two reasons. One, I love respecting the amount of hard work that farmers do in order to create a well-crafted cup of coffee. We cannot talk enough about how hard coffee farms are. And there is that's a level of love. They have to love what they're doing in order to do it to that level. So I want customers to be able to experience that. I want to be able.
How big are, so coffee farms, so a coffee farmer has harder work than someone growing tomatoes, or why is it sounding so hard for our consumers? Because we don't know.
One is the terrain. It's often in high altitude.
Mhm.
These are usually not flat grounds. You're on the side of a mountain. Hand picking, there is usually no machinery, especially, I mean, for specialty coffee. There are other, commercial grade, high quantity coffee, that's different. But for specialty grade coffee, the coffee cherries, they are cherries. They have to be picked when they are at their ripest, but they don't all ripen at the same time. So farmers are walking these fields, hand picking the cherries that are ready and putting them on their back on sacks and walking them on these mountain roads to a collection spot where there is a truck that can actually drive them to the main their main collection point. And they're doing this for weeks, hand picking on the side of the mountain in rough terrain, putting them on their backs. It's hard work.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's hard work. And if you want to drink a sublime cup of coffee,
Mhm.
they need to pick only the ripest beans.
Mhm.
If they want the job to be done faster,
Mhm.
they could just grab everything. And that's what happens at a commercial level.
Mhm.
They try like to pick a target date where they think things are like somewhat better, and they pick coffee cherries that are green, half ripe, fully ripe, and some are past ripe, and they combine everything. At the specialty coffee level, not just our shop, but coffee shops that specialize in well-crafted cup of coffee, they are looking for the ripest cherry every time, and that's selection. That's what we are paying for. That's the human cost of a good cup of coffee. It's a lot of hard work.
That is great. And as you've navigated into the business, there's a couple of personal things I'd love to know about you. Is I find you so interesting that I know you spent many years, over 12, as an engineer professionally, but yet you're an artist and went to some phenomenal art school as a kid growing up. So those two to me are a conflict. So please, which would you love to share with the audience about your art or your engineering background?
They don't necessarily need to be in conflict. I think, when you think about engineering, part of being an engineer is being creative.
Mhm.
You have to come up with ingenious ways of solving a problem.
Right.
So the creativity can definitely feed that engineering mindset. At age 9, I was very lucky. My mom registered me for in the National School of Arts.
Mhm.
They have a kids program that was 3 years long. I graduated from that program and then went to the National School of Visual Arts. And I spent around 5 years there
Mhm.
studying, very classically trained artist, which at the time I wasn't enjoying because that's not my style, but I needed to paint in the style that the school is demanding in order to move through the program. But yeah, the art is still very present in me. The engineering, the math, I just love math. When I graduated from high school, me and one of my best friends, we both thought about going into just a pure math pathway, but at the time the prospect for jobs was just to become a math teacher. So that we didn't see much financial benefit, and we already came from a very poor family, so we needed to excel, financially, and we chose otherwise. But it's nice to see that he actually went back. He graduated from civil engineering, and now he has a PhD in math. Which I'm very proud of. I'm surrounded by very, very smart people, which helps push me all the time.
So that's what I work with a business coach, and she's in Spain, and she said if you want to measure your happiness and success, look around the 5 people that you talk to all the time that are near you, and if they're happy and successful, right, that's the energy we're attracting.
Yeah.
And so just even walking into your business, your environment, the employees had greeted us that way. And so the name of the business, and FAIR, I'm going to touch upon FAIR in a couple different segments because right now we're representing a tool out of South Africa to measure fairness with employers, and it's called the Human Score.
Mhm.
And so we could talk about, if you want, we could engage, you can get your own measurement of your happiness, but what's fair? And so who came up with the name FAIR? And
So that was Greg's and Barbara.
Mhm.
They were the ones leading on the name and pretty much the theme, the colors of the business, and they align perfectly with my approach to business. So we have not touched that. Part of the whole fair is, making sure that we are being fair to the farmers, fair trade, paying a healthy pay compensation for our coffee, the coffee that we buy, so that they can have a decent living condition at their farm level, but also being fair to our customers. I now, with a lot of instability in the coffee industry, in the coffee market, prices have been shifting up and down. And someone asked me, why don't you just raise the prices? Because I was hesitating and I was taking a lot of time to do a lot of calculations to raise the price the minimum we needed to. And the logic behind that is part of being fair, because I think fair is not something that we can isolate in parentheses and choose who to be fair to. Once you make it part of your personality, you should be fair to everyone you encounter. And
Perfect.
that goes even to our customers. We are very lucky that we have some customers that are price insensitive. They can afford anything. And as long as we provide the quality that they're looking for, they will pay for the coffee. But we also have other customers who treat themselves to our coffee, that they're making an extra effort to feed us in their budget. And to me, both customers deserve the same amount of respect, and they're both just as important. And raising the price undiscriminatory without taking into consideration the economy of everyone, it's not being fair. I want to preserve both customers, because at some point I was also the kid who was putting money aside to be able to afford that little treat that I wanted. So I empathize with that.
Stephen, so I love hearing you, and my apologies of interrupting,
No.
but we have to go to break. So we're going to go to break, and we're going to come back and continue on the fairness and on the international marketplace
Sure.
and what we're looking at and how it brings happiness into your business. This is Jack Thomas at The Happy Spot. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the Nonprofit Sector Connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on TalkRadio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy in Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on TalkRadio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back. This is Jack Thomas at The Happy Spot. And I am so fortunate in learning from Stevens about fairness from the fair market coffee roasters.
Yeah.
And so fairness. So I work with employers and employees, and I've worked with thousands of them. And we've looked at the generational shift that is going on. And so my kids that are 29 and 25, they look at me and say, oh, it's your fault, your generation, because of all the problems we have. And the quick argument is there's nobody at fault. I think there's always a generational shift. If we look back historically, I think the thing that we're experiencing now is the speed because of technology. As human beings, we've never seen the speed of change so rapid. And even for myself, it's difficult sometimes being autistic, neurodivergent, for me to touch the phone and have my brain focus. And sometimes I feel like the technology is unfair to people that are like myself, that are in the neurodivergent community, but yet you have to learn how to live. And so when I'm hearing the stories of Stevens and his business and of being fair, I'd love to hear about some of your background as a child and how you're trying to teach your children, right, your child, what fairness looks like, and what are some of the things that you've learned from your age of growing up when you were 10 to how you're able to help teaching fairness to your children and to your employees, because I consider them all children.
Yeah, that is a very, very heavy question. It's something I spend a good amount of time thinking. I often tell people, we as humans, we like to look up to some figures. And often people choose, Greek philosophers or politicians, musicians. Since very early, I was lucky enough to have the presence of mind to recognize the iconic people that I had around. So my great-grandmother had a huge impact on my upbringing and also shaping my personality a lot. She was a widow. She widowed when she was 39, and she lived till 106. Worked her whole life, had 9 kids, and was pretty much a figure that held the whole family together. I did not grow up seeing her, living in a household doing women things. I saw her as the head of the house, making all of the decisions, not just the house chores decisions. She was doing the financial decisions, the work decisions, delegating, distributing. But at the same time, she inherited a lot of land, and she chose humility. She chose to live in her little wood shack of a house and never sold a piece of her land. And every time one of her kids or grandkids would get married, she would give them a plot of land. And successfully, through her generation, within her lifetime, she built a community around her. And within 20 minutes of before you arrive to her house, you start seeing our last name on pharmacy, wood shops, hardware stores. Everybody's family, everybody. She built a whole community around her. And she could have lived like a queen if she sold all of that land. It was a lot of land. She never sold a piece of it. So that is a great example to witness and to try to emulate. Because we could always get sucked in the race on, a better car, a bigger house. But once you've experienced any kind of materialistic acquisition and the euphoria of I got it wears off, you still feel the same. Internally, you're still dealing with the same struggles. You're still dealing with the same anxiety and the same questions.
So I'd like to engage with you on that moment is I'm 59 and I had achieved all of my goals at 36. I was astute, quick learner, family business, multi-generation. And I reached at 36, I had the big house, the big bank account, beautiful wife, beautiful kids, and I was miserable. So I had bought the American dream, right? And following all the things and going the linear process. And so today I stepped away from that 20 years ago and have been navigating this wellness model. So I appreciate everything you're saying.
Yeah, thank you. So, that brings us back to a conversation we were having earlier about people's motivation. So if you're trying to measure yourself based on profits, then there is a very easy formula that will improve your mood temporarily. But when you're trying to measure yourself by the positive impact that you have in your community, in your surroundings, in your employees, there is a very little quick story that I have from my time in corporate, where the chief scientific officer of the company I was working for said to us, "Can you believe this company is spending so many millions a year in salaries?" And we're just witnessing this. We're thinking, yes, that's our compensation you're talking about. We wish you spend more. But at that moment, what I understood was that to the company, we were an expense. Whereas at Fair Mountain, a coffee idea that was pretty much conceived on the table of my apartment, it's now helping 4 families. And we hope this little idea continues to grow. And tomorrow we are 15. I'm not necessarily going to be financially wealthier, but emotionally, I hope I will be more. We're very lucky. We have a very dedicated staff, and I hope they're happy with the way we're treating them. We haven't lost a single employee. We've never let anyone go. No one has ever quit. We have a beautiful atmosphere. Everybody's always happy to come to work. These people are very passionate about coffee. They're very passionate about our customers. And it just makes our daily routine so much brighter. But that's the kind of wealth that I'm looking to accumulate.
So well, I'd love to, after the podcast, and we'll continue growing our relationship. So the Human Score was created by Dr. Cliff Phil Lewis in South Africa. He is PhD, he's a doctor, he's an attorney, he's an entrepreneur, but it's a tool that's like a dashboard that asks questions to the employees, and then they let you know where they're happy, what they consider fair, what is good, and then the companies can post it and have it like their score, whether they're a C plus, a B, or an A. They don't need to post it, but it's the creativity, and that's what we're focused on at the Happy Spot, is how do we start marrying different businesses around the world, growing. Theirs is a fair model is one of the questions in there. The happy model, which is going to shift into the next international part we were talking about. So I appreciate the international boat area that your coffee place is, and the international flavor that you travel the world with your business and with your family. The July 5th, you're heading down to Miami, and you've been recognized by a company in Taiwan. And if you could elaborate on that story, I think this is such a great story.
So I'm a cyclist. That's part of my.
Excuse me. Don't be so humble. You're not just a cyclist. So first, so the Road Kings?
Yeah.
And are they a competitive group?
It's a club. So in the club, we have people who take it very serious. We have people who just leisurely for the social aspect or for health reasons they join. We have a full spectrum of cyclists, and that's the beauty of cycling. You can make it to be exactly what you needed. If you need to feel, you have some stress that you need to flush out of your system, you can be in as much pain as you want on a bicycle, but you can also just take a leisure ride down the shore and see a beautiful sunset at a leisure speed and have the time of your life. So we do have some competitive guys. I'm closer to the competitive than to the leisure. I indulge in some of the races. I'm not necessarily gifted genetically with world-class performance, but I enjoy the competitiveness, and I try to show up to every race that my schedule allows and have a good time with my teammates. So with that relationship, we met this company that started sponsoring us. They provide us with our cycling uniforms, and we were lucky to meet some of their managers. And I invited them to Fair Mountain just to treat them to a cup of coffee, and they loved it. And since then, now the relationship with their brand and our coffee has grown a little bit. They're opening their first flagship store in Miami, and we are invited to come and be at their inauguration present. And there is conversation that maybe in the future we will have coffee bars in their stores throughout the country.
It's so exciting. It's right. So going from an engineer to bike racing, living your passion, living your dream, doing good and healing others. And I'm just gonna just build upon that a little bit is when we were talking, you had mentioned coffee you donate to. If you can talk a little bit about Oasis
Yes.
and how special that place is, because I listened to you and me being neurodivergent, I now have my own relationship. We're going to be helping and serving them because those are the types of communities that we serve worldwide. And it was just amazing. So I'd love for you to share who Oasis is and why you've continued what Greg and Barbara started.
Yeah, so as I said, it never felt like a business negotiation, acquiring the business from Greg and Barbara. It felt more like being bestowed with the utmost responsibility. And part of that, this wasn't even on the contract. This wasn't on the sale agreement or anything. Greg literally just pulled me aside and talked to me about Oasis and told me this is a great organization. It's very close to my heart. This is what we've been doing for them. We've been providing this coffee for them. We also bring our coffee waste for their organic practice, and I would appreciate if you can continue to do the same. At that point, I didn't know anything about Oasis, but I respected Greg enough to say, I agree. I immediately said, we will continue. And he said, if for business reasons, at some point you have to stop, I'll understand it, but I would appreciate if you can at least honor it for a while. So after that agreement was sealed, I looked into Oasis myself and I was blown away. It's an organic farm that houses and gives a place to work to people in the autistic spectrum. They have a wide range, but they also have wide range of responsibilities. They all are useful in one way or another. These are amazing individuals doing amazing things. They have paintings. We have some of their mugs for sale at Fairmountain, and 100% of the proceeds go to them. We provide them with a custom Oasis coffee blend that they sell in their store. 100% of the proceeds go to them. They don't pay a cent for that. We also provide them with our coffee waste and our coffee shaft for their farm. And whenever they have any kind of, event, we are always advertising for them. It's just one of those things that makes you feel good. It's often we find empathy once a problem affects us. And to my knowledge, as far as I know, and I'm not a medical professional, so I could be completely wrong on this, I do not have an immediate family member affected by autism. But if we wait until we are actually affected by something to empathize with another human being, that's a very sad world to live in.
Yeah.
So I just feel like this is part of the compensation of being at Fairmountain, being a positive impact, being able to help. And we do very little. I wish tomorrow we grow to a point where we can do more for them, because what we do is very little for the organization that they are and the impact that they have in our community. Everybody loves Oasis. Everybody around us, everybody that knows what they stand for, everybody's always cheering for them. And I am very glad that just me bringing it up to you, now you have a relationship with them. That probably will be even more help than the coffee that I provide for them. It's really not much.
And you're so humble with your humility and empathy. And so some of the language that we use within my professional world is our company's neurodivergent. There's no set time when people have to work. We try and have set times if there's a meeting, but basically it's 24/7 because everyone's senses regulate differently.
Yeah.
And so my business partner, he does his great work at night. So we will converge and set a time at least within 48 hours. So giving that flexibility gives that creativity, and creating a non-linear workspace is what we're doing. And so my conversation with them is we're looking to dedicate having podcasting where we can bring people that can be trained. And we have what we call our fair cycle of pay. So we have a lot of independent people that want different benefits. So we put them on the payroll if they're within our community and they're working and doing good. So when I heard what they were doing down there, I was like so in alignment. So just really grateful for you to have pointed it out to us. Thank you.
No, thank you for looking into them.
So as the year is, moving so quickly, and you look at the future, when you're looking, even though not into the future, what do you see in the next 2 years for Fairmountain Coffee and bringing additional wellness into your neighborhood?
So right now we are trying to stabilize the Gladstone location, which just opened in February. So pretty new.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're looking to stabilize that. And by that, we mean, training new staff. We take training very serious. Sometimes it takes up to 3 months before we trust someone to run the bar, because we are focused on having that one cup of coffee to be memorable.
Right.
Every single cup of coffee. And that cannot happen by accident.
Right.
So once we stabilize Gladstone, then we have a couple of ideas on how to improve the experience. We are not going to be trying to take over the world. We're not going to be picking fights with coffee giants. That is not our model. I think, just like a lens, we're going to focus on to the one thing that we can do great and just do it the best we can.
And what would that one thing be at this moment of time?
So at this moment in time, it's going to be creating a space where people can enjoy a cup of coffee that could potentially change the course of their life, because that's what it did for me. I remember, and I can share later with you the actual link to the Instagram post when I tasted Costa Rica Terra Soup from Fairmountain for the first time. And that cup of coffee was memorable enough to set me on a completely different pathway that landed me here on this chair today.
That is so great. That is so great. Well, we're about to move into break. This is Jack Thomas at the Happy Spot, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Ready to serve up success with a splash? Hi, I'm Bruce Kramer, a.k.a. the Corporate Cockroach.
I'm the Renaissance woman, Angie Snowball.
And I'm your strategy doctor, Dr. Maltej Desange, inviting you to serving up success with a splash.
Join us as we shake things up with real talk and real strategies centered around awareness, action, and accountability.
And yes, there really is a cocktail involved. Please join us and sip your way to success.
Serving up success with a splash, where wisdom meets happy hours. Cheers!
Cheers!
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Welcome back to the Happy Spot. And this is Jack Thomas, and with Stephen at Fair Mountain Coffee in Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey, and also in Gladstone, just opening up. So in our final moments of time, we're really getting just the flavor of what it's about. The hardest part we've talked about is to have the full experience in marketing. And I know he's on his exploration and figuring it out, and as where we build different marketing programs for people and utilizing the podcast to get to know people, it gives people an experience.
Yeah, it does.
Right? You came from Jersey, you come here, it's just an experience, it's a vibe.
It is, especially, if you told anyone in my immediate circle that I would be sitting in front of 4 cameras,
right?
They're like, yeah, that's usually how his nightmare starts. I'm not a camera guy, but this is awesome. This is awesome.
So I feel blessed to bring you out of the closet and bring you, because you've shared, you're very private. I've looked at your website and it's beautiful coffee, and I'm like, you're a good-looking man. I know you're a married man in a private family. How do we help you come out of the closet to show that good-looking face and your delivery is So fluid and so natural.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I know I need to work on. We've seen a shift where our coffee sales in the store have grown consistently 40% year over year since 2022.
Congratulations.
But that growth has not been translated to the online community. But that the disconnect is that the people that come into the store, they get to talk to me. They get to experience and ask questions. They get to see the staff and they see the energy that we're. So not having a consistent outlet in which we share our passion and our approach and how we do things and why we do them this way, so that the customers from Wisconsin, Montana, we have a lovely couple that visits us every 2 to 3 months from Chicago. Like they visit us. That's the only reason why they get to experience some of this. But we are working on ways to put me out there in front of more cameras so that we can share what we do and why we do it the way we do it with more customers because you guys deserve it. The customers deserve it. It's not necessarily even about Fairmountain. We have supporters that believe in what we're doing from a lot of different states. We have customers in Hawaii who sends us lovely pictures with coffee on a surfboard. We got an immense amount of support, and I think they deserve a little bit more attention from us. So we're working on ways on putting me in front of more cameras at some point.
That's great. And so as we were talking earlier, July 5th, you're going to be down in Miami.
Yes.
And there's a team that's a cycling team coming in from Singapore. And so just talking to them and you pulled the energy because you were supposed to be doing some other marketing and the gentleman had gotten hurt and I showed up at your door.
Yeah.
We don't know each other. You're on vacation. I meet one of the managers, but we had been looking at your store. So we go into different businesses and we said, we want to support your business just because of the energy. Didn't know anything about you. And we took a shot going, we feel that this is right. And so far we're 100% correct on when we've done this and meeting the right people at the right time.
No, thank you so much for those words. We have a teammate as part of my cycling team who's an amazing videographer, and he put his skill sets on my disposal. So he came up to me, he's like, you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, like I can't fight it for much longer. So we had actually scheduled a video blog for this past Sunday, but sadly he was injured and he's recovering from a cycling injury. I'm sure we'll retouch that, but right now he needs to focus on his recovery. So, this showing up, it felt like, it's fate. You are meant to be in front of a camera this week, and one way or another, you're gonna be in front of one. So that's why I didn't even hesitate. I said yes.
So I want to give a shout out to my friend Buzzy Cohn. He owns a company called Bike Insure, and I did some advisory work for him. He had a dream and a vision, and so Buzzy has been riding a bike for years. He lives in DC. We're fraternity brothers for over 40 years, and he was in a bad bike accident, and he was physically hurt, and he's more of a work behind the computer kind of guy. But he had doctor's bills, medical bills, bicycle bills, and I think just shy of $10,000 that is regular health insurance. And he found out his regular homeowner's insurance didn't cover because he had an advanced bike. And so he opened up this company called Bike Insure, and I look forward to introducing you to him.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Cycling can get very, very expensive very quick.
And dangerous, and very dangerous.
Let's just focus on the expense. We don't need to fuel that conversation.
But I appreciate the camaraderie that you have in the biking world. And we were talking about the Somerville Museum. So people don't realize the museum capital of the museum of biking in the country is in New Jersey. People make fun of us, but we have some great things going on.
Yeah, Somerville has, I think, the longest run cycling race in the country. It has only been interrupted during World War II and during the pandemic. But it was mainly because of that flooding that I was mentioning earlier. They put an amazing, amazing event. I've been very lucky to compete in some of their races, not at the pro level, but still it's a blast. I recommend to anyone, just show up. Even if you don't ride a bike, just go and sit in one of the restaurants and witness this event. It's an amazing, amazing
So I'm going to use that line on you right now. So at the Happy Spot, we use different tools on measuring wellness and helping wellness. And so I showed up one day at a rabbi, I had a meeting in his office, and I was in his neighborhood and I was helping their synagogue. And he goes, Jack, we have a meeting? I go, yeah. And he goes, on the phone. I go, Rabbi, you don't know the secret to life? He goes, what? I go, just show up. And he laughed and he goes, aha. And so you just showed up today. And so how do you feel on your first coming out and going out in the environment? And is it a good takeaway for you? Because you're looking fantastic, but you're such a professional on screen, I can't tell.
So there is a photographer that has been my photographer pretty much for my whole life. He took my very first school picture when I was 2.5 years old. His name is Jose Jimenez, in Dominican Republic. And eventually for business, he has taken a couple of professional shots. So he's very well in tune with my appearance. And he knows if the moment I start rubbing my hands like this, that means mentally I'm done. Like I'm like when the camera starts getting to me, you'll see me, and he knows that. So usually he will squeeze breaks here and there. But this has been awesome. A lot better and easier than I expected, and you are an amazing host, so that definitely helps. Very professional setup, so it's all coming together to make it a very enjoyable memory.
Well, then what I'm going to do is I'll give a shout out to our friend Joseph Medina. He's our engineer in the back over here. We are at the Producers Club in New York City on 44th Street. A shout out to Freddie. Freddie's always a gentleman. And so great to have your energy, and we look forward to building this relationship. Thank you for coming to the Happy Spot, Jack Thomas, and hopefully everyone will be visiting Fair Mountain Coffee Roasters. Fair Mountain Coffee Roasters. Thank you. And that's my autism getting in the way of me.
Not a problem.
Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, guys.